Hey yo guys, how are you doing? Do you know the sound effect? I can't blame you if you never heard it before. It is the boot up sound for the Nintendo Wii U, a game console that failed harder than Genshin's plans for world domination. But there is one game on the Wii U that is of utmost importance to Ninja Gaiden fans. A lot of the comments on my latest Ninja Gaiden videos argued that Tobonobu Itagaki was solely responsible for the major success of the Ninja Gaiden reboot. So today let's take a look at his career, see what really made him quit Team Ninja, and take a critical look at his last game that came from the mastermind of Itagaki, Devil's Third. As always, grab yourself some pizza and a coffee, kick back and make yourself comfortable, and let's dive into it.
Are you blind to the suffering?
A little history lesson to get things started. Tobonobu Itagaki joined Tecmo in 1992 as a graphics programmer. His first project was the SNES game Super Tecmo Ball. However, his career breakthrough came in 1996 with his first Dead or Alive game. He helped form the assets for the series we know today. The release of Dead or Alive 2 had greatly increased the series' popularity as well as Itagaki's. He had sought to create fighting games with the details he felt were lacking in other games. His rise through the company had been steady since then. He assumed the post of Team Ninja leader in July 2001 and was appointed as an executive officer, and later assumed the position of general manager of the high-end production department. He became known for always wearing sunglasses, as he wished to stop people from reading his expressions during gambling-type games, a habit that has become his trademark in the video game community. Ninja Gaiden 2004 was Itagaki's effort to develop a game centered on violent gameplay. Capitalizing on the brand name of the earlier NES series, Itagaki developed a critically acclaimed action-adventure game for the Xbox. He continued to work on it and released Ninja Gaiden Black as the opus of his Ninja Gaiden work. He continued the series on the Nintendo DS with Ninja Gaiden Dragon's Sword, and at the same time he brought the series to its high point and the next chapter on the Xbox 360 as Ninja Gaiden 2, the game that should end his career at Team Ninja. But there has been several events during his rise through the ranks of Team Ninja that led to the Ninja Gaiden 2 incident. The bonus payments may have been the breaking point, but this was not the first time Tecmo and Itagaki had friction. During the development of Dead or Alive 2, Itagaki said Tecmo had actually tricked him into releasing the PlayStation 2 version of DOA 2. When Itagaki didn't think the port of the game was good enough to make the Japanese launch on the system in March 2000, a Tecmo employee asked to borrow a copy of the latest build to play it for fun. Itagaki complied, but later discovered Tecmo took the version of the game as the Gold Master, which the developer said sank him into a month-long alcoholic depression. His executive position was taken away in August 2006 due to his involvement into a sexual harassment scandal. While Tecmo insisted the allegedly sexual harassment of the former employee by Itagaki never took place, Tecmo stated that the two had mingled personal affairs with their corporate responsibilities and acknowledged it, and demoted and lowered the pay for both Itagaki and his accuser as a result. In 2008, just before the release of Ninja Gaiden 2, Itagaki announced that he would resign from Tecmo and was suing the company for withholding a bonus promised for his previous works. He was also suing Tecmo's president for damages based on unreasonable and disingenuous statements made in front of Itagaki's colleagues. What exactly happened remains a mystery till this day, but Itagaki moved on to form his own studio, Valhalla Games, and started production for his first game, Devil's Third. Personally, I always liked Itagaki's straightforward attitude. The thing that really made me like Itagaki is that he is totally unfiltered. He says whatever the hell he wants. He spoke his mind in interviews and never cared much about what other people thought or political correctness. He's one of the game developers I keep in high regards. If someone attacked his franchise or spoke ill about it, he fired back, something that is really missed in today's overly correct climate. It seems like only a few Japanese video game developers speak their mind without hesitation, and they have the right attitude when it comes to video game development. I miss it when games were made by people who love video games and were talked about by people who love them too. Seeing it still as an art form and not a scheme to print money by any means necessary. But yeah, that's a topic for another video. Ninja Gaiden Black was one of the games that really formed my taste and love for hack and slash games, and it came at an important time of my life. And I think Itagaki's vision had a huge impact on Ninja Gaiden 1 and 2's development. So I thought to myself, hey, let's check out the games that Itagaki and Team Ninja made after their Ninja Gaiden 2 split, and today we're gonna start with Devil's Third.
Freedom, justice, it's all up to you now. We're with you, brother. Just remember one thing.
What's that?
Don't fuck it up.
I still remember seeing the reveal trailer for the game after E3 2010, thinking, whoa, it's no Ninja Gaiden, but damn does it look cool. But it had one hell of a development cycle ahead of it, before it finally released on the Wii U. Devil's Third began its life as an intended Xbox 360 exclusive to be published by Microsoft Game Studios. After the partnership fell through, Itagaki managed a cooperation with THQ, who would share his vision of the title and agree to publish it for PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 and PC. However, THQ would eventually be forced to drop publishing the title after their bankruptcy in 2013, leaving Valhalla Games without a partner to release the game with. Following the lack of support, Valhalla Studios would partner with a South Korean company, Dobik, to produce and publish the title. The partnership promised a multi-platform release. However, Dobik eventually went out of business too, setting back the development of Devil's Third even further, and leaving Valhalla Games Studios again to try and find a partner. The setbacks caused by the collapse of both THQ and Dobik landed the game in development hell for several years. During this time, Valhalla Games Studios approached then Nintendo president Satoru Iwata, who agreed to publish the title for Wii U. Itagaki stated that Nintendo published Devil's Third because they don't have enough strong online games, and that it wasn't a game that Nintendo could make internally, so we came in as their mercenaries to make a strong online game. Devil's Third was re-revealed as a Wii U exclusive at E3 2014 and released the following year. I knew the game had issues, but the story, characters and the multiplayer just looked too bananas for me to pass up. But it took me until 2018 before I finally got a Wii U and a copy of the game to jump into the crazy madness. Devil's Third is a fast-paced action game set in the near future in the wake of a global catastrophe. A group of soldiers have deflected from New Russia, plotting their revenge against the Western world, called the School of Democracy. One of the central figures of the story is a character codenamed Ivan. After a chain of unfortunate events, Ivan was classified as a traitor by his comrades, escaped, but is imprisoned in Guantanamo Bay and sentenced to 850 years in prison for crimes against humanity. However, he came to an agreement and worked for the US government to take down his former comrades. While the story follows the standard anime tropes like most Itagaki games, I still found it very enjoyable. The marketing for this game was just awesome. Itagaki and his team really knew how to hype the audience for their upcoming game. The critics at the time were pretty torn. Reviews range from
The Devil's Third is a hell of a lot of fun because it breaks every rule in the book. I would take that, technical warts and all, over the glistening and safe nonsense that we're exposed to from almost every other shooter out there.
versus
It is quite clear that Devil's Third was never intended for the Wii U. It feels completely out of place. It's fitting that the only Wii U specific feature Devil's Third uses is the gamepad's poor battery life, because it gives you an excuse to turn it off.
The torn critics are kind of understandable if you look at the other games that released in 2015. The Witcher 3, Bloodborne, Fallout 4, the competition was pretty harsh. But what is the gameplay like? Sadly, I was only able to test solo play for this game since the servers for multiplayer were shut down a while ago. While Devil's Third does nothing groundbreaking, it's a fairly competent cover shooter mixed with some hack and slash elements. There is a wide variety of guns and tons of different melee weapons that are all handled a bit differently. The gameplay revolves around lots of explosions and decal effects. It has destructible environment. Devil's Third has a lot going for it. If you use guns and aim down sight, it becomes a first-person shooter, which is a pretty cool mechanic. It's one of the few games that manages to tie hack and slash and shooting mechanics together in a meaningful way, and both feel fluid and fun. It's very impressive for the first game of a new formed studio. It's fast-paced with a lot of different environments and action set pieces. While the story is nothing new, I really enjoyed my 10 hours with the main campaign. The boss fights were a bit hit and miss, and a lot of them had one-hit kill attacks. And while a few characters were a bit goofy, overall the game kept me entertained all the way. Devil's Third has a lot of small details that make it memorable. If you hide in cover, Ivan starts smoking a cigarette or takes a sip of whiskey. I don't know, I love idle animations like that. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. The levels can seem a bit empty at times and not exactly detail rich, and there are some recycled level parts that stick out. But I blame this on the limitations of the hardware, because the cutscenes still look pretty impressive for a Wii U title. The enemy AI is not really smart. They either rush your position or try to use suppressing fire from behind cover. But their sheer number and the fact that a few shots can kill you made me still enjoy fighting them. The enemy AI can also be exploited somewhat if you can figure out how to behave. While Devil's Third surely was heavily influenced by Call of Duty games of the time, it still does enough differently to make it stand out. Thanks to its over-the-top coolness of the main character, Ivan is the kind of dude that wears sunglasses at night. And coming straight from Apex Legends, I feel right at home with the sliding mechanic. It's super smooth and makes gunfights super fluid. There is a nice gameplay variety to keep things fresh. Gunplay, melee combat, turret sections, boss fights, car chases. From start to finish, the story keeps driving the game forward. Sadly, I wasn't able to try the multiplayer. It seems like there were several attempts to bring the multiplayer back to life. First as a Japanese exclusive around 2015 and later as a reskinned Steam version called Rockshot in 2018, which again shut down its servers a few months after release. Sadly, I never got around trying the game out for myself. After the release of Devil's Third, Itagaki just disappeared. It seems he has given up on game development and wants to focus on passing his knowledge to a younger generation by teaching in an Italian university. So, a few seconds of silence for our fallen ninja master.
My eyes can see everything. But can change nothing.
Need darkness. It's where you'll find the true light.
So, verdict. For a troubled first title of a new formed studio, I would say Devil's Third is mighty impressive. It has its downsides, but overall it was a fun action-packed ride. The fact that the main campaign is cutscene heavy and has a decent story to tell makes the kind of repetitive gameplay easily overlookable and gives you an entertaining 10-hour ride. If Ninja Gaiden 3 and Devil's Third would step into the ring, I would say Devil's Third would easily take the cake here. There is no over-reliance on quick-time events and the story is way more engaging. The game seems to be way more polished and the multiplayer looked like fun. Since Devil's Third is only available on the Wii U and the multiplayer servers are down for a few years now, I feel like the restricted access hurted the game even more in the long run. It would be awesome if Nintendo would fork out some extra cash and re-release Devil's Third on the Switch. The multiplayer seemed to have a lot of great and new fresh ideas incorporated, but the time wasn't right for the overambitious project. Devil's Third is a bit rough around the edges, but overall it's a really entertaining game. So, Team Ninja, Tecmo, Itagaki-san, why don't you guys forget the old grudges, meet for a few drinks in town and talk about a new Ninja Gaiden game? That would be awesome! But what do you think? Have you played Devil's Third, and what are your thoughts on Itagaki-san? Would you love to see a new Ninja Gaiden game with him involved? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, kick the like button, sharing is caring, and subscribe. But most importantly, have a great day and get the kick out of gaming.